So fresh off a night shift, another night in the books. Thanks for coming down, Jamie.
Thanks for having me.
What are you up to today?
Well, heading to Whistler for the weekend. We'll talk about a little bit later on, but I'm going to be going to SEAL Fit, and I'm doing like a SEAL Fit training weekend. I'll do the 25.2K or 22.5K Valley to Peak race with the pack on. Then we're going to do some PT training in the afternoon, and then a 17K night hike.
Well, okay, we can't just leave that dangling. So, okay, first of all, the first race is an official race, right? Like,
correct, yeah, but it's more for the running athlete. The idea is you run from the base of Blackcomb to the top, to the peak.
and how many? That's 25.
22.5K for the big race.
But the elevation gain must be brutal.
It's huge. Yeah, I can't remember the actual how many meters it is, but it's big.
Okay, and so how long are you expecting that to take?
We actually have a cutoff time, I believe, of 5.5 hours. So, and I mean, in shorts and a t-shirt, I mean, probably no problem. But we're gonna be putting on 20-pound pack plus extra fluids and things like that. So probably looking at around 30 pounds on my back in hiking boots. So I think I'll be, and my conditioning's not quite there yet. So I'm gonna be tight probably for that time.
Okay, and then when everyone else is done with the race and is off to the bar, you're doing what?
Yeah, so we're gonna recoup, get some fluids in us and some food. Then we'll head down to one of the lakes, and we'll be put through some drills, like CrossFit WOD kind of stuff. Lots of flutter kicks and push-ups and planks in and out of the water. And then we'd be wearing our pants, boots, shirt, our packs, everything. So just trying to mimic the event as best as possible.
Okay. Well, we'll get to the event in a second, but then you're done, right? After doing the full-on race and then doing the full-on CrossFit workout, you're done.
Well, that'd be nice, except for I think we're gonna try and have a nice dinner, then pack up again and go for a 17K night hike. And we'll talk about coming up. There's a night hike portion of the SEAL Fit training, so trying to see how that makes me feel.
Okay, so people are probably confused. They either know what the SEAL Fit training is or not. So just give us the overview of that. And this isn't what you're known for. You're actually known for a much shorter event, being a world champion, being the world's fastest firefighter. So this is going to be the world's longest and hardest working firefighter thing coming up. So tell us about the SEAL Fit thing.
Yeah, it's funny how you say that, because I'm actually going from a very short race to an extremely long race. This one's Kokoro training. It mimics the Navy SEAL BUDS program. Obviously not as long. It's a 50 hours, 50-hour course, or 50-hour Hell Week mock-up, kind of, as you say. And they're going to put you through, everything. The idea is, they don't necessarily want you to quit, but they want to push you mentally. And it's not a matter of, okay, I'm going to get in this great, awesome shape so I can overcome Kokoro and win SEAL Fit, because that's actually impossible. They will break you down to nothing quick. But it's how far you can push yourself mentally, and that's kind of why I'm doing it, to try and better myself. I'm always looking to try and better myself. And as I found out, being the world champion, a lot of that was mental as opposed to physical. So the 50 hours, it's no sleep, so you're going for 50 hours, and the one hard part would be the 26-mile night hike.
One hard part.
Yeah, the one hard. Well,
the part you're most looking forward to, baby.
Well, it's like so people can't see me, but I'm 5'10", 220 pounds. So I'm not built for long aerobic conditioning. So I'm really having to change my my program up. But at the 40-hour mark of the 50 hours of no sleep, they throw us in a van and take us up to Mount Palomar and say, okay, do this hike with 40 pounds in your back in 6 hours. And I realize that that's next to impossible. And I think that's
how long was that hike?
Well, they said they give you 6 hours to do it.
Right, but how long is it distance-wise and height?
Oh, sorry, it's 26 miles. So it's a marathon at 40 hours of no sleep.
Wearing a pack.
Wearing a pack, yeah.
Awesome. And then there's in addition all the PT stuff and
Exactly.
surf torture and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I suppose people are wondering right now, why are you doing this exactly?
And it's funny because when you go there, you're supposed to have your why in quotations. Why are you doing this? And I mean, for me, like I said, I'm always trying to better myself mentally, physically. I mean, that's one thing I like. I like to be able to have goals to strive for, and whether that was training for the Firefighter Challenge, or training for this, or training for beach body, say, like, you know, that kind of thing. I always use the an event to program my training to keep me on track, and that's just what I have to do instead of going to the gym and just, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do next. You walk around there, you might do a little bit of arms, a little bit of abs, and leave. But if you have a purpose, I find that I see better goals.
So you make the event the purpose?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you always been like that?
I have been when I started working out, because like everybody, and even today, I go through peaks and valleys of, I'm not going to work out today, I'm not going to work out today, I'm just going to do half a workout, but it starts compounding quickly. So using an event like the Combat Challenge, for example, in my earlier years I wasn't that great, but as we talk about when I got better, now there's a certain expectation, if you will, and if you haven't been trained into your full potential, people will know, so that you're actually held accountable by what you can do.
By reputation.
Exactly.
Expectation.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Combat Challenge. So just describe the event for people who haven't seen it on TV.
Yeah, so they call it the toughest 2 minutes in sports, and what it entails is you're in your full firefighter gear with a pack, on air, just like we'd be going into a structure fire. And you start off at the base of a set of stairs. There's six-story stairs, and you're going to pick up a high-rise pack that weighs 45 pounds, and you're going to move it up the stairs all the way to the top. And at that point, you put that down. You pick up a donut roll, which actually simulates. It's attached to a rope, and it simulates bringing a pack up to the sixth floor level. So you pull that hand over hand up to the sixth floor.
And that weighs how much?
That weighs 45 pounds as well. And then from that point, you put it in this special bucket. Basically, the idea behind that is to keep the event safe. It doesn't go flying over the edge or flying down the stairs, and those things do happen. Then you come down the stairs, the 6 stories, hitting every stair. You can't skip stairs there. It has to be controlled. And then you advance onto a Kaiser Machine. The Kaiser Machine is like a sled where you basically are hitting with a sledgehammer between your legs, and you have to move that. I believe it's 150 pounds. You have to move it back 2 feet. And from there, you have to run through some cones, and then you advance a hose through 100 feet. And that hose at the end of the pull, it's kind of curled up in a ball, curled up in a roll at the end of the course. By the time you have it fully extended, they say it weighs around 300 pounds of pull. And it feels like, at that point, you're very tired, so it feels like 1,000 pounds. And the last event is you move to the dummy drag, and you pick up a dummy and you advance them backwards 100 feet. And that's it. Well, I wouldn't say that's it, but then
how
you
much
try
is that dummy? That's 180 pounds. If I remember.
Yeah, 175. Yeah, and then obviously depending on the conditions, it can be 185 if it's raining. And it really, believe it or not, that extra 10 pounds makes a huge difference. So
okay. Now people say 2 minutes in sport. I mean, I remember going through it my first time, and I was very happy to get in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. It felt like I was dying for the last half. Mm-hmm. But then I finally figured out, because I was also competing in this a little bit before you were, mm-hmm. that it never stopped hurting, but if you went faster, that it would hurt for less time.
Yeah. And I've tried all those different tactics where you let up on a certain part to save energy for something else. And it actually does work on the up, because the up actually really taxes you. But at a certain point, if you want to be one of the best or the best of the sport, you actually can't shut it off ever. So, but yeah, the answer is right. Like you never stop hurting. That same amount of hurt, whether you do a 120 or you do a 220, the amount of hurt still hurts the same.
So when you won the world championship in 2012, was it 2012?
12, yeah.
What was your time? They called it the toughest 2 minutes in sport?
Yeah, so that's a tricky thing about today's courses versus yesterday's courses. The course always changes. So my time in 2012 was, I believe, a 123, which would have been considered a really good time. Since then, there's been modifications to the course, and the course is even faster now. And I think the idea behind that partially was getting people, kind of like my workout. I have a goal, my workout to be better. They changed the course to allow people to be faster on the course, to see better times.
What did they change?
They changed the biggest thing was the Kaiser. The Kaiser, you're bent over, slamming on that thing, and I think when I won in 2012, it might have been 12 or 14 hits, and now you're at 4 or 5 hits. Mm-hmm. So that bent over energy, as you know, it's a massive difference.
Yeah, it was you're bent over and you're sledgehammering between your legs, and because you're bent over, you can't breathe as well. Yeah, and so it's like you're kind of time to hold your breath and work really hard for 5-10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad at least they standardized that, because I remember some people, maybe the favorites of the organization or the organizers, would hit that Kaiser 3-4 times, the thing would slide off the end, and then you'd come along and it would be 14 hits and it was all you could do. And it really depended on how it was lubed and wiped in between the events. So that's been standardized now?
It has actually, and that was the issue, that the 119 time that had been set years and years ago, it was untouchable because the Kaiser went from a 4-hit Kaiser back to a 16 or 12 or 14, whatever it was in the day. So there was a lot of complaints from the competitors wanting to be at the top elite level. So they put temperature trays on the Kaiser to keep them both at the same temperature, and then they standardized the hits. So you'll see, if you're hitting it hard, a 4 to 5 hit max on that. So it's standard for everybody.
Okay, well that's makes life fairer anyway. Because even if there wasn't favoritism, there was always the appearance of favoritism. Yeah,
well, and honestly, and for how it works in this sport is, the later on in the day you race later on in the day as your time is faster. So it wasn't quite fair. So someone had a good run earlier on in the day, the sun's shining on the Kaiser tray, it moved faster. And then in 2011, for example, in Carolina, I think I hit mine 16 times, and I think I came second or third that year. But fast forward, if I had run during the day when it was sunny, I would have had that more energy, and who knows what would have happened that day. So
are you saying is it that the Kaiser machine would have been warmer and slid better?
Exactly. Yeah. So it goes from a 16 hit down to a 10 or 12 hit Kaiser. That's huge time, and the compounded energy spent hitting that is saved for the dummy.
Okay. So you said that you initially weren't very good at combat.
Yeah, I was horrible. So the first year, I just come off of probation. So here we can't really do physical activity until our first year is up. We don't want to get hurt, that kind of stuff. So you really try and make sure that you are healthy for the job first. But I always had the passion for the combat challenge. So I came out, and there was some veteran guys that have been doing it for a long time, guys I'd seen on TV doing it. It was pretty cool to be getting tips from them. But I didn't really quite understand the workout ethic that you needed to put out. So at that point, I was, I think, 5'10", 230 pounds, and I wouldn't call that lean muscle either. So, but I just felt as though at that point, I need to be big and strong to be able to do this. And then I realized later on, as I do this more, did it more, that I was the exact opposite of what I needed. So when I went to nationals in Niagara Falls, my time was horrible. I think I was at just around 2 minutes, 1:55, 2 minutes. And to compare that, the winning time was a 1:20 or 1:24. So I was way, way off. And then went to Reno for Worlds, and I didn't even make final day. So, the team had sponsors, and I went there. I trained decently, but I couldn't even make final day. So I was like, okay, this is an eye opener for me.
Okay. So what did you change?
So then.
Oh, sorry. What were you doing to prepare then? I'm assuming mostly weightlifting.
Yeah, exactly. Mostly weightlifting. Very little anaerobic conditioning. I would just go to the course, move some things around, do some reps of that, this and that, and Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Mostly, maybe even a little bit of functional strength, but mostly weightlifting, and that did not work.
Okay. Because then I remember seeing your workouts evolve over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the next big phase or the next big approach to the conditioning and the preparation?
So as my body started getting adjusted to running the course, just like anything, you the more you do it, the more your body has memory and you get better at it. It's
Are you talking about the technique of
yeah,
doing
the technique.
movements?
So that at a certain point, you can overcome your workout with a bit of technique, but it only takes you to a certain level. So at that certain level, I still needed to have a better workout program. So I followed a couple programs here and there. I started on the treadmill a little bit. It still wasn't enough.
When you say treadmill, what were you doing?
So at that point, I might have been doing steady state cardio with maybe a little bit of elevated cardio there to get my heart into anaerobic state a little bit. But as anybody knows, that if they do anaerobic training, it really hurts and it really taxes you mentally. So I would say one of the biggest things is mentally I was really weak. There's only a certain amount of things I could do, and then I would just shut down. Like everybody probably experienced that. Oh, you know what? I feel a bit of pain in my knee. Oh, I'm gonna have a second workout, or I'm gonna go hiking later. So your mind plays tricks on you, and I bought in hook, line, and sinker at that time. So, but evolving in my training, I find this. You know what? I'm watching these videos of these guys racing. I'm watching their splits. I'm like, well, if they can do it, why can't I do it? So I went to a personal trainer, somebody that was sports trainer. He used to train the Vancouver Canucks. And I showed him the videos of my training. He did some assessments on me, and he built this program for me. And it was really, really hard. It was 2-a-days, 5 days a week.
Do you remember what they were?
You mean as far as the workout program?
Workout Monday morning.
Yeah. So Monday morning would be a functional strength thing. It was always moving from thing to thing. So it was like by accident you're getting your steady state cardio in by doing your functional strength training, like bridging bench press and sumo deadlifts and all in box jumps and weighted box jumps, all these crazy things. And then you'd go back for now I'm dipping into anaerobic training in the afternoon with a treadmill workout, and based off a 90-60-30, so 4 sets at 90 seconds on, 90 off, 4 sets at 60 on, 60 off, and 4 sets at 30 on, 30 off.
What's the inclination and speed?
So the inclination is always 10, and the speed each week you're supposed to bump it up by like 0.1 or 0.2 for each thing. So it never, again, like the challenge or like anything else that's really difficult, it never got easier because you kept pushing yourself to that next level. And even still in those first year or two, I would give up partway through. I'd do half workouts and stuff. It was just too much.
And what was the speed? Like, what speed did you start at the beginning of the training cycle, and what speed were you up to?
Yeah, so
because I go on about this one because I think trying this workout after I had quit the Combat Challenge team, long after trying this workout, I think maybe with a pastry in my stomach was the last time I've thrown up after a workout, bent over double, puking up the remnants of an apple fritter into a waste can.
Yeah, I remember him telling me, okay, the way you want to start off is do one set at 10-10 and see how long, if you can hold it there. And I could do
10
1
miles per hour,
yeah,
and 10% incline.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, good. So there's your starting point. So you take whatever it was, 70% of that, and you build on that. But I couldn't actually do it. So I started off at speed 7 for the 90-second portions, 7.3 for the 60, and then call it 7.5, 7.7, 7.8 for the 60 or the 30-second portions. And I just kept trying to bump it up. So when I started getting better, maybe I started off at 7.7 for the 90s, 8 for the 60s, and I'd probably go to 10-10 for the 30s because the pain is quick, but it's not that bad. So, but again, with that workout, you stop doing it for a couple weeks, and you're back like 10 steps, and then you have to start back, lower speed, and mentally it's just very draining.
Okay. And so that's your Monday.
Yeah.
You have 4 days left.
Yeah, so Tuesday would be, he called a stadium workout. there'd be lots of box jumps, running forwards and backwards in the treadmill. As I realized later on, running backwards in the treadmill was a little hidden gem that I've told some people about really work. Because you think about the combat challenge, and of all those events, you're running backwards or while walking at that point 100 feet. However, it's the longest portion of your course. It takes about 20 seconds, that one event. So
Dragging the dummy,
yeah. So I needed to do something to tax my legs for a long period of time. So that, everybody can run forward forever, but running backwards is, especially on a treadmill, it's a learned thing. So, yeah, like running forwards and backwards in the treadmill, and then just one of the things that really would get you is a push plate. It's kind of like I guess back then the sleds were just kind of getting into coming into the market by just pushing a 45-pound plate around the floor for specific times, and that would just absolutely murder your legs. Jump squats, those kind of things. So and then the Tuesday was the only real day where I could sneak in a little bit of vanity muscles and do some arms, because really the combat challenge isn't really about arms, it's more about legs and anaerobic conditioning. So for me, my hardest gainer would be my arms, so I'd be in great shape, look fine, but I have these little pinner arms, so I try and sneak a little vanity workout in there on Tuesday. Wednesday being like a functional rest, foam rolling, massage if you wanted to, and stuff like that. And I've always been horrible at the foam rolling recovery. I might take a day off totally, or I might sneak another workout in there. And as I learned through doing this, I've bonked a few times, and it's horrible to feel that.
When you say bonk, you mean like just reach that point of overtraining?
Yeah, like I'd heard about overtraining before. I didn't really know what it meant, but all of a sudden you just have nothing left, and then you wake up the next morning and okay, I had a good sleep, I'm good, I feel great, and then by like 2 hours later you need to go back to bed, and then it just happens over, and every day it happens for like, I think I did it for a week once, and I did it again later in my training period, and I had to take a 2-week break. It's like you have mono basically. I've never had mono, but people are just tired all day. You have nothing left in you, and your body needs to recover. So I learned then the huge importance of recovery weeks. So build, crash recovery is what I usually tend to follow. So the week one is heavy, and then heavier, and then really heavy, and then half intensity for the 4th week to recover. And if I didn't do that, I would overtrain. It was hard. So
now we're on the Thursday.
Thursday.
And you know what? If people don't want to listen to this, they can skip ahead. But yeah. I'm really finding this fascinating here. So
Thursday, and this also, this program actually allowed for course days as well. So when it gets closer to competition, I would spend 3 days a week on the course. So just backing up to Monday, if I was going to go to the course on the Monday afternoon, then I would forego the treadmill workout. But if it was raining or I wasn't going to have a chance to get there, life happens, then I do the treadmill workout instead. Thursday, same thing. I'm going to the course that day. I'm going to do a course workout. So if I don't, then I'm going to add a treadmill workout in there as well. But that would be more of like, it's kind of a showy workout actually, because it starts off with weighted burpees, believe it or not, holding a dumbbell each side. And again, I started off in the beginning with very little weight, and then all of a sudden, fast forward a couple of years, I'm doing sets of 12 burpees with 60s each side. So it's, like the power that was built in this program was awesome. And you move right from there to a quad exercise, and then a static hold. You're in how do I describe this? You're in a squat position, holding the cable rope in front of you, doing a static hold for 20 seconds. So that would be like a set of 1. You do that 3 times at least, and then you move on to, again, lots of box jumps and or step ups. This one would be a step up with a barbell over your head, followed up by basically jumping lunges, but holding a dumbbell in front of you, kind of up against your chest with 2 hands. And then the third thing would be like a calf raise. So that's the second set of 3. And then So third set of 3 would be a bridging bench press, alternating legs, like you're moving your legs back and forth at the same time you're pressing, or flying the bench plus side raises, and then a plank row. So that one hurt bad. That was I've done some workouts with some guys that do the combat challenge, and I'll explain what I'm going to do, and I'll say, this is my Thursday, so this is what I normally do, but I'll do something else to you because this one's quite hard. And I've, in both cases where I've done a Thursday workout with somebody, I've lost them. They never come back to me ever again. So it's that bad. It's really, really bad. So yeah, but then so then you recover, rehydrate, nutrition, and then you either do a treadmill workout or you go to the course, and then
in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, yeah. I mean, you could do it back to back, and actually, it's so funny what the body will adapt to, because I'm doing basically that right now for SEAL Fit training, basically 2.5 hours a day. So you can train your body. It's amazing what you train your body to do. It takes a while, but you can do it. Friday was my only real strength day. I love pounding the weights, but that was a day where you could finally get under the bar. So, but it was never just like you do a set of bench and you rest for 3 minutes. It was basically you go squat, and these aren't like, little squats. They're like heavy weight, call it 365, 405 for reps, and you go right into a heavy bench press. And the bench press, again, as heavy as you can do for X amount of weights. It always changed. Like week 1 would be, say, 8. Week 2 would be 6. Week 3 would be 5 or 3, somewhere in that range. And then from there, you do one more exercise. It would usually like a side raise on a Swiss ball. He had me working a lot of my core and adductors and stuff like that. And that really came into to help me with the rope pull. If you ever watch it, if you go on YouTube and search the combat challenge, you see the guys pulling the rope or the simulated high-rise pack. A lot of it actually, once you get the technique down, isn't about arm strength or shoulder strength. It was more about using your core to move that rope up, and that was like a little hidden gem that the good guys could figure out. It took me hundreds of pulls to figure out, how did I just do that? Oh, it was an accident, and then you just figure out how to do that. So and that was just, so the 3 things would just be like set 1 or group 1. Group 2 would be, I think about that, I haven't done it in a while. It would be power cleans, and again, everything you do would be heavy. And just a note there on this one is I took breaks in between these sets because I really wanted to make sure, this being my strength day, that I could actually push the maximum amount of weight. So the set 2 would be power cleans right to seated shoulder press and right to a hamstring curl, and again I use heart rate monitors and stuff for a few reasons. One, obviously, is I know my body to see what my heart rate's at. It also helps me to know if I'm overtraining or if I'm undertraining. I can add weight. But it was amazing how fast I can spike my heart rate with the doing power cleans. And then you have to basically wear the pain right into shoulder presses, and sometimes the shoulder presses would be 100 dumbbell aside. So that's being able to work under that capacity of heart rate was a learned thing. And then the hamstring curl, of course, and then the set of 3 things after that would be the heavy deadlift right to pull-ups, and then a mid row, and then to finish off with some abs.
We are going to injure so many people with this podcast. We're going to start doing. Can we get that written out for us, Jamie, so that they can just start jumping into it cold and get started. And then
after all that, I do a treadmill workout later on in the day. So, and you're like
up to 3 treadmill workouts a week.
Yeah, and I substitute treadmill workout for course time, and then Saturday would be a course day. So I guess arguably call it 9 times a week, and Sunday being rest and foam rolling, active rest or functional rest is what they call it.
So I mean, you can go so many directions from this point here, but I'm just wondering, so you said this guy was a former coach of the Canucks, which is a hockey team, I believe. I'm a very bad Canadian, know next to nothing about hockey. But was this basically a hockey program adapted for this? I mean, I can imagine that with hockey, leg strength and endurance and anaerobic ability is very similar in a way to the combat challenge.
Yeah, and he's brilliant. He had the background with the hockey team. He has a cycling background. He played hockey himself. But I really think that he took my weaknesses and I guess my strengths, also watched the video of what muscle groups are being used for the combat challenge, and then turned it into a program for me. And I'll never forget the first time going there to meet him to do the program. He's going to show me the movements and things like that. And I ate a little bit, like I was like, I was ready to go-ish. And we just walked through the motions at just a little, like a quarter intensity. I remember leaving there and sitting in my car, and my ears were ringing. You ever have that hard workout where your ears are ringing? And then I somehow made it home, and I sat on the couch. My ears are still ringing, and I was messed right up. And that was the introduction on how to do the workout. So yeah, I came a long way. And again, I cannot speak enough about how your body will adapt to strenuous exercise. It's unbelievable. Even at my age, and people don't know this, but I'm 43 now, so I would have been in 2012. I mean, my high 30s. So racing against people that are literally sometimes half my age or 21 at most. It was it was hard because I'm having to overcome certain things like youth too, and that's where I really think that the mental aspect comes into it.
Well, you said that initially you were weak mentally. Mm-hmm. Does that really just mean weak physically, that it took your body time to adapt, or that you would give up long before you actually needed to give up?
Yeah, I think that it was mentally, and the reason why I think that is because I did this program for the first year, and in the programming I was definitely in way better shape, but the problem with the mental aspect being weak was when the times got tough during the workout, I would shut it down. I'd be like, I can't do it anymore, and I'd stop. There's that point where you're comfortable and uncomfortable, and to push past that is extremely difficult. And I sometimes, quite often, wasn't willing to do that. And then you have that really good workout where you actually, I'm going to push through it. But I didn't have a training partner either at that point. And sometimes that training partner can be the person that overcomes your subconscious to stop, and I didn't have that. It was all on me. So mentally I wasn't as strong, which actually made me not as strong physically.
Okay. So then how did you become stronger mentally?
And I think it was the will. I mean, I had to read, and I can't remember the books I read, honestly, but it was the drive for me at that point in my life was watching the guys, counting their splits, and wondering, why can't I do that? Or like, if he can do it, why can't I do it? And I'd bring that onto the course. Okay, he can do an up and touch rope in 12 seconds, but mine's 14 or 15. Why? And so I had to break it down and start from scratch. And then people coming up in the sport, they say, well, how do you do that? I said, well, if you can't touch rope in 12 seconds in shorts and running shoes, there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to do it in full gear with on air. That's absolutely impossible. So I had to back up and start kind of from day one again. Among that, part of it was the mental push during the race and during my training, thinking about things like, in 2012, I had a kid in July, and my nationals was September. So, I mean, I was making a choice to be away from home, away from my family to train, and I used that mentally to like, okay, if I'm going to be here training, I better be here training hard and be doing it for a reason instead of just going through the motions and doing a half-ass training session. So that's how it started, and then I saw some results. 2012 was really successful for me. I really think that, it's funny, like I had a kid in 2012, and I was doing a renovation in 2012, but somehow I had enough mental capacity to push to the next level.
And became the world's fastest firefighter.
Yeah, it was interesting in 2012 because I went to the Canadian Nationals, and we have the same, like, we're really lucky in our department. We have the same course as the combat challenge. So it's kind of like cheating, where I can set it up so
We've got a 6-story tower.
Yeah. And
That-
then we have all the equipment as well, which is really nice. So I can mimic the course exactly, right to the step. And our course is arguably a teeny bit harder, but the drag on the asphalt and stuff like that. But I mean, it's really, really close. So when I'm doing my full run throughs and I'm counting my splits and I'm watching my video after, I had a good idea what I was going to run at nationals in 2012. And one of the things I did mentally, and people can laugh or not, I wrote my splits on my wrist. So I just have my wrist. It would be all my splits and my final time. And my final time was 2 seconds faster than the current time. So people would come over to me, competitors, be like, "Oh, what's on your wrist?" And I show them they're like, "Oh, what is that?" "Oh, it's my splits of what I'm going to run." And it totaled 114. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, oh wow, good for you. That'll be interesting." And I'd see them go off and they'd be talking in the groups and they'd be laughing and snickering at me and stuff like that. I'm like, "That's fine." Like, and I was fine with that, but I really truly felt in my heart that I could do that. And I actually bettered that on day one. I think I bettered it by a quarter of a second or something like that. And people are like, "Oh, okay." So, and then I started getting some.
He's not some crazy
Yeah. So I got a little bit of buy-in. People were like, "Wow, I can't believe this." And then for final day, that was just a practice race. Final day, they switched me sides of the course, and then I broke my broken record again on final day by a little bit more. So people were like, "Okay, well, this obviously wasn't an accident." He obviously knew what he's talking about. So fast forward 2013.
Guys are getting it tattooed.
I did the same thing at Nationals in Edmonton, and I had my time better. And
So it's a slightly different course from the World Championship.
it is, yeah,
So,
slightly,
okay.
yeah. A little bit
So that's
faster.
why you're running at
That's right.
114-ish.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
112-ish. No. What was it? 113?
Yeah, 113, 5.3 was it was 8.3, then 5.3 in 12. And then in 2013, I think I did a 112, 8.3.
Okay.
And that was in Edmonton opening day. And again, written on my hand, and I had a plan to do a 112 something. And I was like, I was like so happy. I was elated. And people were high-fiving me after the race. And there's still one race to go, and all of a sudden I hear all this cheering. I'm like, well, what's everybody cheering about? I already raced and I already broke the record. Like, I look back, and that's one of the awesome things about both firefighters and about the combat challenges is not only was I using other people's videos and motivation to better my time. Well, there was people using using me as motivation to better their time, because if I could do it, they could do it. And the Kamloops, Graham from Kamloops, he bettered my time by 0.3. So, and I think that was, backhandedly it was awesome. I wish he didn't, but he did do it. No, but since then, it's even broken again. But no, it's just really cool to see people, using each other and for motivation and pushing forward. And since then, it's actually come down a couple seconds. I think we're at a 110.7 or 110.9.
Get back there, Jamie.
I know.
Take back your title at
Yeah.
age 45.
That would be quite something.
How about in the after you finish your 50 hours of seal fit, just go directly to the course. I won't respect you unless you do that.
Whew. It'd be interesting to see how that translates, because I'm doing all this aerobic training now. I'm trying to drop some weight.
You're doing like 2 hour, not steady state workouts, but where you're sweating and moving and straining continuously for a couple of hours, which is kind of different from a treadmill workout that takes 22, 23 minutes beginning to end.
Yeah, it's definitely different. The best way to describe is seal fit. You guys can look it up. There's some workouts on there that you can see. But the best way to describe it is doing 3 or 4 CrossFit WODs, and at the very end of it, they say go for an hour and 20 minutes or hour and 30-minute run at different intensities. They'll do like a fartlet, which is different intensities, and then they want a moderate pace and they want a hard pace, or they want you to ruck or hike 10K or 5 miles or whatever with a 40-pound pack after doing all that other stuff. So, again, when I first started doing this, I was like, I cannot do this. This is too much. Maybe it's my age. Like, you start questioning yourself. Am I too old for this? And
maybe it's too many years of anaerobic training.
yeah, and I'm heavy. So I wanted to make sure that I actually could do this. And I'm built for power and I'm built for strength. And this is nothing to do with. It's very little to do with power and strength. More to do with one foot in front of the other, and just don't quit.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But how do you manage that versus continuing on with an injury? Because that's always something, just because there's pain might be an injury, or pain might just be pain. And what you're doing, there's going to be pain, but is that pain going to lead to an injury that's then going to set you back for months or a half year of training? So how do you moderate that? How do you decide, okay, now is this serious pain in terms of it could injure me? Or is this just pain that I can power on through?
Yeah, and I struggle with that sometimes because I'm actually training with a small injury right now, just in the back of the knee, just running the seawall and stepped off the curb, and I feel a little pain in the back of the knee. But I struggle with that because my mind will play tricks on me sometimes, and if I keep going, I think I might get injured. But deep down in your heart, you probably aren't going to get injured. You're just using it as an excuse. But I want to try and stay fairly healthy in my training now. But come seal fit, or if I did combat challenge and I was racing, I'm like, oh man, if I keep going, I'm going to injure myself. At that point, I'm going to take myself right to injury, because I've trained so hard for it. If at the 40-hour mark, I know I'm going to blow a bicep, or I'm going to blow something, I'm going to sustain the injury and then recover afterwards, because just honestly for me at seal fit, giving up would not be an option.
Okay. Well, I look very much forward, and you'd be to hearing your experiences of that, and also I wonder after you recover for a few days or a week or whatever, how all that cardio and all that long intensity work will affect your combat challenge. It'd be really interesting to see what's the best combat time that you could do a week after that.
That'd actually be really cool to see. I don't know how it would kind of go hand in hand. One thing I can think of though is when I started doing, for a while there in between the seal fit and the combat, I was doing Ben Bergeron's program, the CompuTrain.
What's that?
And it's basically a pure CrossFitters program, getting them ready for the games or getting them ready for the online games and stuff like that. And again, high intensity, a lot more Olympic lifting there, which is good. But I did notice that by the volume of training, and I mean, looking back now, my training program was awesome, but this is even like, I don't want to say double, but way more than that. Even the CompuTrain was. And so when I step onto the combat course after that, I was like, wow, like a minute and 15 seconds was nothing. I was like, wow, that was like so quick. It went by like a blink. And that was actually after doing a whole bunch of Murphs. If you don't know what a Murph is, it's you run a mile, you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then run another mile. And the kicker is that you are wearing a 20-pound weight vest the entire time. So it's hard, like especially for someone that's, again, 5'10", 220. Like I'm not built for running at that point anyway. So, but once you get through the mile, I broke it up into, it's called, and again, as now we're calling a Cindy, which is 5, 10, 15. So 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats. You do 20 rounds of that. You actually hit your 100, 200, 300. But around the 10 set mark, the 20 set, you're in mental gut check. Like you just like everything you can do to get your hands back on that bar after the air squats. And so that translated onto the combat course of a minute, 15-second full run through was absolutely nothing for me. It was just like, wow. And I was fast. So it's interesting how your training evolves, but comes back to the same. But this one here is tricky because I wasn't doing the aerobic conditioning that I'm doing now. So I need to lose some muscle size, and I don't know if that'll equate to losing power, because there's strength and then there's power, and I have power, but I don't know by losing a bit of size and increasing my aerobic if I'll lose that power or not. But
A lot of people get strength and power confused, and why don't you just break down the difference? So what's being strong, what's being powerful?
well, like for example, if you get under the bar and you can squat 3 plates, it's gonna be good for you. But the best way I just describe it to some of the guys is, if they were to race me up the stairs right now in shorts and a t-shirt, and just they can use 2 hands, no pack on their shoulder, just as fast as they can up the stairs and touch the top, and they race me that I was in full gear on air and I carry that 45-pound pack up the stairs, they aren't going to beat me. They're going to tie me at best. I've done it many times. People find it hard to believe, and that's where the power comes in. I mean, the strength, the power. I know they kind of relate, but they're
So
a little
it's
bit
the
different.
speed at which you're generating
Yeah,
the force.
exactly. And for guys that are trying to be faster on something under load, I mean, you have to have the strength component, but the power has to be there as well. And if you don't have it, like, and you're wondering, why can't I get up the stairs as fast as you? Is it because the power is not there?
So that's your box jumps, your Olympic lifts.
Exactly, step ups, yeah, all those movements, yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, back when I did Combat Challenge, we had a smaller guy, Pat O'Connell, who was mostly a runner. I think he was probably 150 pounds, soaking wet. And for the time, he had quite a respectable combat time. I think at the time, sub 100 seconds was considered pretty good. There was a 100-second club. And I don't know if anyone had broken 90 seconds yet, so it's 1.5 minutes. I think it had happened. And Pat was right around the 90-second mark. But most of his training was running. And most of that running was long distance. I think he hit the weights once in a while, but honestly, he was a runner at heart. And just to see somebody who was essentially a cardio machine, an aerobic machine, do very well on the course, it was interesting, because there were other guys who were training not as hard as you, not as high volume as you, but more in that direction of power generation and anaerobic training. So it's amazing that in that sport, which is, let's say, the toughest 2 minutes, that 2-minute mark, some guys were doing okay with more aerobic training, some guys were doing more with more anaerobic training. Do you think that's individual specificity, like sort of individual, one person will need more of one person will need more of something else, or that they hadn't figured out what the optimal training was?
It's probably a bit of both. I mean, you look at the size of the guys that are doing the race today, and there's no special size. The current world champion, he's like, I want to say almost 6'4", call it 210, 215, a specimen. And then you have someone like Darren Hillman back in the day. He's shorter than 5'10", but again, just fast as heck. He's super fast back in the day. So yeah, I guess it does come down to specificity. But Pat O'Connell, one of his secrets was he used to do a lot of backwards hill running, a lot of it. And again, like I talked about earlier, that silly little dummy drag being 20 seconds long.
Doesn't seem like 20 seconds at the time.
But some guys that are really good can do it in 16, and some guys that aren't so good at it, or they just have used all their energy up before the dummy, it might take them closer to 30 seconds. So that's the win, the make or break is that stupid dummy.
What tips do you have for, you've trained for months or even years, your whole focus has been training, and now it's competition day and you've really got one shot to pull it off and not screwing it up on race day? Because there were lots of guys who trained really hard, but on race day, you flip a coin. Heads, it's a yard sale. They fall on the stairs, they drop the pack, and it's over. Tails, they do really well. So how did you make sure that on race day you actually did the things that you were supposed to be doing while pushing things as hard as you could?
Yeah, that was a conscious choice for me, because I watched guys, including myself, on race day in the beginning years. and I was just a disaster. I wouldn't be eating before. I wouldn't be drinking, and which is obviously counterproductive, even at a minute 20 or minute 30, whatever I was doing back then. You're so nervous that you're not providing your body with nutrients and actually dehydrating it, which is so counterproductive. And it's still happening to guys today, and even sometimes guys in our team that just are just like beside themselves nervous because they want to do so well. And I didn't want to be that guy anymore. I wanted to be able to just get there, relax, and be able just to bring the best me to that day.
Be the best Jamie you can be.
Yeah, exactly. So I started using our hall training center and those days where I'd go do the course days, and I'd get myself really worked up. I would be nervous to have the crew come outside and watch me. I set a time for myself. I tell the guys, this is going to be my time today. This is what I need to do. And I would go out there and do it. And I'd be nervous as heck at first, and then I'd calm down through the race. And I'd make lots of mistakes. I'd make a few mistakes. And then from there, I'd be like, okay, this is what I did. I was out of my mind on this part. So then I go back and I focus on that one section and train it, and then repeat. And then the next time I go there, I get myself all nervous, but also...
So you get yourself nervous on purpose?
On purpose. I'd be getting myself all worked up.
So like, how would you get yourself nervous on purpose?
I'm just like, I just want to do so well. I need to do so well. The pressure's on me.
Knowing that this would then make you want to pee your pants.
Yeah, and at best. Yeah. Yeah. So I would get myself, I'd be worked up, I'd be nervous, I'd be wanting to do well. I'd be thinking in my head, these guys are going to judge me if I don't have a great time, if I don't do the time I told them I was going to do. I want to make sure that I just do it, and I'm making tons of mistakes, and one thing.
And a mistake can be a little, gripping incorrectly on the rope,
Yeah.
and it adds half a second to
Yeah,
your time.
more. It's a lot of time sometimes. But one thing I did always do before the race, and the whole day and the day before leading up to it, was I always did the same hydration. I have the pre-meals were all the same. So my routine was the same. I just came in a different mindset, all worked up, freaking out, and then do it, and then I'd work on mistakes and then reset. So then when I got closer, I would go more into my own headspace and try and shut that nervousness off when I was getting closer to the event. And now I'm coming in focused. I'm not going to be nervous. I've done the training. I know what I can do. And I really think for competitors in any sport, if you put the time in, then you know what you can do. One of my most favorite quotes is by Russell Wilson's father, separations in the preparation. I love that quote, and it really is true. If you put the time in, then you'll know what you can do. And we have guys all the time that they know in their heart they haven't quite put the effort they need to do, but they still want to have this amazing time. But it just can't happen unless it's fluke.
I don't know who said it, but the willingness to win is nothing without the willingness to prepare to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It's similar, but more wordy than your quote.
Yeah, exactly.
But it says the exact same thing, I think.
Yeah,
So then, just to be clear, when you were competing, you actually wouldn't be doing these, so much is riding on this, I'm so nervous, oh my God, I want to do well. You'd be kind of going to the opposite end of calmness. So you'd already tried to make yourself more nervous in training than you were in actual competition.
Yeah, so when I get in the competition, I spend a couple of days doing lots of visualization. And just a disclaimer on this, I didn't believe in the mental preparation side of it. I thought it was kind of bullcrap, honestly. But whatever I was doing in my training wasn't quite working for me. So I heard about visualization. I'm like, come on. Like, okay, I'll watch some videos and I'll do stuff. But I started buying into it, and it started working. I'm like, oh, wow, this actually is working. So
what would you visualize?
I visualizing myself just running the race. I visualize myself finishing the race, doing it flawless. And then I visualize myself making a mistake and how I overcome the mistake, because a mistake can happen so easily, but how was I going to overcome that? And in fact, in 2012 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, I made a mistake, and Graham McKenzie beat me out of the tower, and just like my tower, like, so when I say tower, I mean up, rope, and down. That's like,
So how long do you normally spend in the tower?
yeah, so let's call it 31 seconds. And so I'm almost always out of the tower first against the person I'm with, especially Graham McKenzie, where he murders me is on the back half of the course. But he beat me out of the front, and I was like, at that point, I'd won provincials, I'd won nationals, I won U.S. nationals, and now I was at Worlds, and my family had come. My 4-month-old was there. I'm like, and coming out of the tower, I'm like, oh my goodness, I've blown it. But I mean, I really think, I just look back to that moment, I can still see it clear as day how I persevered and somehow found another gear to get off the Kaiser before him, because he would murder me on the Kaiser normally. And I got off the Kaiser before him, and then I was able to hold on and then hold him off. But again, visualizing all those things.
What was the mistake in the tower that you made?
I want to say I blew a rope pull, and the rope is one of my strongest things. So yeah, I was in trouble. I knew coming on the stairs, I was like, I'm in trouble here. So, and it's funny actually, just thinking on a side note, is that I never used to be able to think when I was racing. I know some people will probably be nodding their head when they think, like, you know, you start doing something and next thing you know, you're finished. You're like, you don't even know how you got there. But after like doing repetition after repetition, you actually are thinking in your head what your next move is, and things actually slow down even though you're still going 100 miles an hour. You actually have the ability to think, and that, I think, is a great sign of the preparation you put in has been enough.
Yeah, it's like a boxer being able to do these amazing bobbing and weaving and slipping by a matter of millimeters. And to a normal person, having somebody throw punches at your face really fast, it's just, well, you're not even sure what punches were thrown. But now here's this guy who's able to pick them off one at a time and more or less keep track of it while it's happening. I suppose it's just time under load.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's really maybe no different from a chess champion being able to look at a board and immediately understand what's going on, as opposed to there just being a whole bunch of pieces all over the board.
Yeah, exactly.
So how has in addition to being, you know, Firefighter Combat Challenge champion, you're also a firefighter. So how has all this fitness stuff helped or hindered your actual firefighting? Like when you go to a fire, it's hard to imagine how this wouldn't help.
Yeah, no, and it definitely does help. Interestingly enough, though, if you're going to be going in for some salvage and overhaul for 30-40 minutes.
So that's after the fire's out.
Sorry, yes, yeah.
And we're looking for, you know, where's the fire hiding, and let's pull the couches out of here.
Yeah, yeah. So like again, like I was built for a minute and 30 seconds of all out intensity, but it doesn't equate back to 20 minutes of steady state cardio. Also, I wouldn't tire out. I'd be using more energy. But one thing I really notice is as we train as a crew and we wear air sometimes, I suck back the air faster than others, and I assume that maybe I have a bit more muscle mass and it's taking more oxygen to feed the muscles. But say, for example, if someone's 150 pounds and we're doing a crew drill on air, we're going to do a whole bunch of different exercises until your pack runs out. Well, my pack runs out faster.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if I'm in better shape than them on the combat course or I can lift more weights, I run out faster.
Wow, it's just a bigger engine. It's going to consume more gas.
Yeah. So then pride-wise, like, oh, frig, I wanted to last longer.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, those guys have better aerobic conditioning than me. It's just bottom line.
Or lower oxygen consumption anyway.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. And how far into your firefighting career are you right now?
So 13 years coming up.
So
yeah.
And around here, it's roughly a 30, 35-year career. So.
Yeah. I'm writing my officers this year, so it's going to be a little change. So,
what are you looking forward to about that? Being the new ship. That means that you're going to be, you know, in the next few years, you're going to slowly be edging into the officerial role, captaining and the lieutenanting and bossing people around, as opposed to being the hammer rather than the nail.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't look. Some people are like, "Oh, this is so great! I got my red helmet. I'm an officer now. This is awesome." And for me, we're already a team, and for the most part, yes, you as an officer, you have the responsibility and the liability to some degree, but it doesn't really feel any different. I guess if you want to get down to brass tacks, I get paid more. That's really what it comes down to. But it doesn't. The power. I don't care about the power. I don't care about the extra responsibility. I'm just honestly it's just a one big team, and somebody has to be the boss. So
we were just talking about that the other day. How really it's one of the superpowers of firefighters that they're self-organizing for the most part. I mean, there's always the exception, but you throw 5-6 firefighters at a job, whether it's building a dock on their time off or cooking dinner or fighting a fire, that they kind of understand that somebody needs to be in charge. It doesn't really matter who's in charge, and that we need to split into teams and do it. And it's really cool how that it's a trait that gets developed over time. Because again, it's not a natural thing. It's not a natural way of doing things, but it does seem that something about the training or the way we operate, and I particularly think it's cooking meals together. Because if we can figure out how to cook a meal around the vegan, and the other guy doesn't eat chicken, and the other guy doesn't eat onions, and the other guy doesn't like curry, we still somehow find a way to do it, and then divide that up into tasks. And I mean, in addition to the training, the actual firefighter training.
Yeah, we were just talking about that the other day. Even as firefighters, if we go away, a couple of guys go away together, or we have a little crew weekend getaway, or just guys in the job, it's just funny how it all kind of collaborates. Everybody collaborates together, and everything gets done, whether it's cleaning or it's cooking, or if we go ATVing, the bikes need to be fueled up. Someone's doing that. I actually take that for granted. Not realizing that that's not the norm in other professions.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the cooler aspects, and it really allows bigger calls to be handled, right? I mean, even smaller calls. You go to a medical call and there's a cardiac arrest. One guy's not going to be doing chest compressions for half an hour. It's natural. I mean, of course, it's part of the protocol, but you're looking around. You're going, well, where can I help?
Mm-hmm.
And it's for the most part, it's not what's the minimum I can do, but how can we share the load here?
Yeah.
So,
I
think it makes it a really rewarding profession, but at the same time, it makes it tough for guys when they retire. We've just had a retirement here of a guy who's well loved, and he's having a tough time of it because he's going to be leaving essentially his family.
Yeah, I actually felt a little verklempt for him as well. And every time we have retirement, because this isn't one of those things where you just come to work and you go home and it's just a job. This is like a family here. It's like a culture. So, and quite often the firefighter will do extra things like in the community and volunteering and or be on the executive and just it's like your life.
Done with, like burn fund stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different lifestyle here, so it actually feels as though that you're actually leaving part of your family, even though in essence you are, but you have a family at home, your real family. But it's a big deal, and 36 years that's a long time. It's a lot of, and this particular officer, he put his heart and soul into this job. So tomorrow he's going to be. Or I guess it was his last day last night or this morning, so he should be working tonight, but he's actually off now. He's being retired, so he'll be next set. What am I going to do today? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a transition. And we were talking to one of the other retired guys that came in and talked to him. It took him a year to recover from wanting to know what should I do next? What's
one day he's a purpose? Somebody, and the next day he's just some retired guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is something that we'll both have to struggle with at some point, hopefully.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
But a few years away still.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to get off to your. Is that today?
Yeah, I'm going to head to Whistler today. Yeah, a little relaxing day today, and hydrate, and then bring the noise tomorrow. The pain.
All right. Well, I look forward to talking to you in a week and seeing how it all went.
Awesome.
All right. Good luck, Jamie.
Thank you.
Podcast listeners, there's a pretty good chance that you're listening to this
on your smartphone, right? You're walking around, you got your smartphone in your pocket, you got your earbuds in, you're listening. If you've got a smartphone and you do jiu-jitsu, then you should check out my free Roadmap for BJJ app. This is a video-based app. It's an app that goes on your phone. You can check out the different sections. It's got different techniques. It's got different positions. And it breaks down the big picture of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for you so that you're not going to be so lost on the ground when you're training. So you're going to know kind of, sort of what you should be doing in every position, along with the specific techniques that you should be using. So if you go to grapplearts.com/roadmap, there'll be links there to get this app for free, both in the iTunes store, if you've got an iPhone, or in the Android store, if you've got an Android phone. There's also Kindle versions of it out there as well. Once again, you can grab that at grapplearts.com/roadmap. That'll point you in all the right directions to get this app, whatever kind of phone you have.